I recently realized that my third brake light had stopped working. Originally, I thought I would take this to the dealer and have them replace it, but when I saw the price, I thought, I wonder if this is something I could actually do myself. So I did a little research. It's not as simple as just pulling out and replacing a bulb. You do have to pull out the entire taillight assembly. It looked a little daunting because it's connected to the lever that opens the tailgate, and that entire assembly has to kind of come out. But I started looking into it and thought I'd give it a try, and turns out it's not that bad a job after all. The first step in the job is to remove the plate that's across the top of the tailgate. I have added a mountain hatch hardware cutting board on top of mine, so the hardware is now different. Mine uses a slot screw to hold that plate on, so I had to remove that mountain hatch cutting board off the top, but if you don't have that, you use the torque screws that just hold the plate on, and the assembly is the same. It's still just 8 bolts that come off. Very straightforward. The 8 screws came out without any issues whatsoever, and the cutting board was very easy to lift off, and the plate that is the factory plate underneath that also came off just as easily. The mountain hatch cutting board is ready to come off, but I should be sure to remove my cup of coffee first. Now collect the plastic tabs. And with these out of the way, as in the normal, I don't have to pull all the screws off this plate, which is nice. This should just lift out, which it does. And we now have access to the tailgate assembly here. The tail light assembly is up under here, under the mechanism, so this whole assembly has to come out, and I think this nut, and I thought there's a third, maybe this screw here will need to come out to get this assembly out to even get access to the tail light. The replacement tail light is here. It looks like that. Looks pretty straightforward. There's one plug in here on this corner, right here, and then the rest of it looks like it just snaps into place. Okay, so the next step is to disconnect the power plug right here. If you can see where I'm pointing with the little blue tip right there. That's that plug. I'm just going to lift that out and separate that. So here is the plug removed. There is a little clip here that has to get kind of pulled back for that to come off, so it's a little awkward to do. To kind of showcase, there's that little detent that's on the light itself, and that clamp fits down over that little detent, so that has got to kind of get pulled back. I used just kind of an angle tool, and I have these special electrical connector remover, and that worked just wiggling that off. Okay, according to the directions, the next step is on this little mechanism here, this plastic tab, push counterclockwise 90 degrees, and that pin just pops straight off just like that. The next step in this process is to remove the 3 bolts that hold this assembly in place. One is right here. This is a T27, so I have a T27, a 1/4 inch drive socket, and these 2 bolts are both 10 millimeter. So I also have a 10 millimeter socket. So we'll remove those 3, and that's the next step.
there. Switch that out for the 10. Alright, that's it for the hardware removal. Now, there's a couple of detents that have to be pushed in. As you can see, the brake light assembly is now loose. And we'll address that next. Alright, so there are two clips that you can feel under here that hold this thing that's going to now fall out the bottom, and it's there. Close up, yeah, then it comes loose. And now this whole assembly is coming from the bottom up. Yep, there it goes. And it's just kind of held in place. Take this guy out. Oh, look at that. And the assembly is now out. From here it's pretty straightforward. There are 3 little nuts to remove there. And then the tail light, this guy, gets replaced. And goes in, yeah, you can see that's the piece right there. So we'll get that installed and start putting it back together. The 3 bolts that are holding the brake light assembly in place are Torx in there, a T20. So T20 Torx is the correct size here. I'm going to use the packaging that the new brake light came in just so I don't scratch anything up while I'm doing this. These are real loose. Those are almost just hand tightened. And I will put them in a spot separate from everything else so I don't start getting all my bolts and nuts confused here. Third one on the end. Oh yeah, these are super loose. Guess when you're dealing with plastic on plastic, you don't want to make them too tight. Okay, and I believe that's it. This old, yep, and there is the old inoperable third tail light assembly. So we take that out, replace it with the new one, and start putting this all back together, which this is actually a pretty simple job. There are a couple of YouTube videos out there describing how to do this, and they talk about having to remove the 2 bars that connect the lever pins there. I didn't have to do that, so that complicates things because obviously these are adjusted to fit perfectly, so the fact that you don't have to mess with those I think is a plus. Would help if I put it in the right way. Remember, that's got to go through the yeah, that looks a lot better. And we'll get each of those at least started so they line up right as they appear to be. And now we'll put those back in. And like the factory, I'm not going to over tighten these, so they're just going down until I start to feel some resistance. Right about there. easy. All right, so the next step is to get this fitted back in there, back into position, and then get those 2 nuts and the 1 bolt back in place. So this does slide around, so you got to kind of see how that aligns. And yeah, again, make sure you set it right. The plug is on the left-hand side, so it should just fit up in here, I believe. Maybe. Let's see. I want to make sure that that pin is in there too, without messing up the tailgate or forgetting its location. So, oh, there it goes. Slides right in there. Okay, piece of cake. That went right in. So find my nuts from this job. There's one right here. Let's get that started. One right here. Get that started. And then take that Torx and get that going. Make sure it's all lined up just right. There we go. Okay. Very, very good news. Tighten that down. And then slap this pin back in there where that goes. Push that 90 degrees clockwise. Make sure you can see that. So again, just the nut here, and the Torx there, and then that pin just goes into there and locks in by turning the plastic tab now clockwise, 90 degrees. So I'm just going to tighten that down from here. Now for the 10 mil. All right, that's it. Then I just take the plug here and push that onto the new taillight. The detent end goes towards the back. You can see that. This will go towards the back of the tailgate onto the plug in here. Let me get this thing fit it over here. Yeah, and then goes right in here. Just like that. And I heard it click, so it's in and it's good. From there, we just simply put either your tailgate cover, if you have the original, or the tailgate cover, and then my cutting board, and I'm done. So this was actually a pretty simple job. It was a lot easier than I was expecting it to. Again, you do not have to mess with these 2 rods, which is very nice, because that obviously is a fit. I said that, but I don't see the... maybe I locked it? Let me get back with you, because the tailgate's not opening, so let me see what's going on. Okay, that was easy. I just had to unlock the tailgate. However, somehow that mechanism flipped over here. That's the locking and unlocking right there. So, good to go. Easy. Now, if you have the original and have not modified your tailgate, this piece would be kept in place. Yeah, you can't put anything right first. Would be put in place just with the Torx screws that came in there, but as I have that accessory cutting board, this just sits in place. just sits in place and the cutting board goes on top of it. Actually, you know what I forgot to do though? I forgot to put the plastic washer on the other side. So let me do that real quick. Get each of those down. Then go back to lining this all up. So a couple pieces to line up here, but I'm sure we'll get it. Okay, one started. Let's get this guy. Get them all lined up. Let's get a couple. It should be. The rest should line up. Yeah, I think I got 2, 3, and 4. 5 and 6. And here on the wings. And 7 and 8. Yeah, peel the threads on each one. So that's good news. Oh, I spoke too soon. There it is. Yep. All right. We're good to go. All right, and that is it. This job is all done. So I will make sure it works after I've done it. And if that's the case, again, very simple job, fairly pretty common on the Gladiators. I guess that their tail light goes out. There are some aftermarket accessories. There's a company, I think, out of Georgia that make kind of a cool one that you can get kind of flashing patterns and has a pre-lit light pattern that stays on all the time. If this factory one goes out again, that's probably what I'm going to do. A little more expensive, but you can take your old one, and maybe I'll do that. I'll just send this in to them, and they use this and put a new circuit board in it and kind of design it the way they want. Now that I know this is a pretty easy job, I may consider upgrading to that. So anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching.